I'm back. It's been a while, guys. I haven't checked my subscriber count in quite some time. Sure, I've lost quite a few, but that's all right because such is life, right? So what I want to talk about today is moving forward as awakened souls in this land of deceit. How do we do it? We do it by disinvesting our attention in the deceit. And that's why I've stopped talking about it. And you know what? When I stopped talking about it, it went away. We grow that which we pay attention to. And if we're paying attention, if we're giving our God-given attention to evil ones, to deceivers, to murderers, to those with violent minds, then we're giving them control over our minds. That's not how we win this. We win this by saying, you know what? I refuse to play. I won't play your silly games. So that's just what's got to be done en masse, or they're just going to continue owning us. Okay, they can't own what you don't give them, though. That's the thing. Everything is done by contract. Everything is done by permission, and everything is done by the justification that you allowed it. Do you allow it? Do you sit around and complain about what can't change, what won't change, about, why this specific politician you put your hope in is now lying to you? That's why it won't change. It's because you keep expecting different outcomes. Doing the same thing. Sure, it's a different face, but what's the system that's being voted for? What is the system that's being propped up with your taxes? What is the system that is growing by your permission? The trick is, stop feeding it. Roots that don't find water shrivel up. And the same is with attention. The same is with anything that happens in this life. If you divest your attention from whatever dynamic it is that you don't like, that dynamic is then quieted. This world is but a realm. There's no real construct. You and I are the construct. And we decide what kind of realm we live in. Do we choose to live in a realm of lack and of loss and of hatred, or do we choose a realm of abundance? Because that's what I choose. And you know what? Here's how it happened. Gratitude. Gratitude is key. If you are grateful in the face of pain, then it is returned to you. So here's a good real world example. That's my car twin. Here's a good real world example. I was working for my neighbor doing some work that was hard to do with one person. I'm not especially strong, and it required some amount of strength. I was patching a pretty large hole in the ceiling at my condo complex, and I was trying to fit this piece of flame-rated drywall above me while standing on a ladder and holding it up with one hand and with my shoulder, and then screwing it up with an impact driver with my other hand. And you know what? It wasn't going well, but I was grateful. I was grateful to be doing it. I was dripping with sweat. I was bleeding. but I was grateful for it. And the second that I showed that gratitude and offered that gratitude up, I got a text from a farm, the owners of a farm that I had reached out to a month prior. And it was the first farm I reached out to, the only one. And I got sick of just working corporations. So I reached out and I said, you know what? I'm sick of working corporations. I want to work with you. And I explained a little bit of my situation, and they said, unfortunately, we just don't have the money right now. And then I was showing that gratitude, and that text came in and said, we actually do need help. And it's been slow going. It's not as much money as I need, but you know what? The work that I'm doing is exactly what I've been looking to do. Exactly. And the dynamics that I have are exactly the dynamics that I have been seeking. It's magic. It's just as magical as the near-death experience, because what happens is we write our own reality. We write it, but we don't realize that we write it. Nobody taught us, here's how you write your reality. That never happened. We got to figure it out. And the way we figure it out is by pattern recognition. What works out, what doesn't work out, what makes life worse, what makes life easier. I can tell you for certain, one thing that doesn't make life easier is resentment, dishonesty, thievery. It doesn't. It makes everything worse. It makes everything worse for those around you, and it makes everything worse for you. And if you think about it, what are we but ripples, right? We're just a ripple, and we interact with other ripples. So imagine a rock or a pebble being thrown into say a river. Okay? Sorry, it's very bright and I don't have sunglasses. That pebble, that pebble then ripples out and interacts with other ripples. And depending on the frequency, on the weight of that pebble, it has different effects. And that's the same. I am that pebble. You are that pebble, right? And we're leaving ripples in this river around us. And how do those affect us? How do those affect those around us? It's all returned back to us too. It's echoed. Everything is sound. Everything is light. It's all the same. And once you realize that, it becomes a lot easier to work with it. Once you learn, I'll speak for myself. Once I learned and understood that there's no separation between that ripple in the river and the person traveling in their truck in front of me, everything became a lot easier. How am I going to ripple that person's life? Okay, now that word has zero meaning left anymore. Ripple, ripple, ripple. You get it though, right? So many people get their values and their morals dictated to them and spoken to them from on high, from their little black screen that they stare at, from people whose values are not the same as what they pretend. For instance, my mom watches Megyn Kelly like she's addicted. I believe that, isn't that the person that said, well, it's not like they're 15 is different than 5. Isn't that her? These aren't the people that you want to be taking. These aren't cool people. And I was told this when I was in school, right? You don't want to align yourself with those who have low morals. Yet who do we... No, I don't. Who do people take their guidance from? It's from people with low morals. And then you wonder why you're disappointed by the person that they told you to vote for, right? But here's the real problem. It's the lack of accountability. It's the inability, probably due to ego and unhealthy ego. Ego is there to protect you, so don't shed it completely. You gotta learn to live with it. But it can't be the deciding factor, because it'll always work to protect you. But because of ego, many people are unwilling to admit that they supported a monster. I can see it in their faces, right? You can see it in their eyes. Bring up Trump and what he does, and you can see the shame. But that shame, all that's going to do is make them want to vote harder. And that's wrong, man. And we've been convinced that, okay, if this Republican piece of shit breaks your trust, then, well, then the Democrats must be the answer. Okay, well then why weren't they the answer in the past? Right? If you can be so easily misled by somebody, and it keeps happening over and over and over again, why is this time going to be any different at all? Here's a question. If you can choose your leader, why are you only presented 2 options? Sure, they got, you get 8 or 16 or whatever, how many people get up and yell at each other for a couple of quote-unquote debates, but do you choose the winner? Who chooses the winner? Who chooses the loser? And then why, when somebody loses after months of derision of their opponents, why do they then support them? That shows zero standards and zero ethics. And yet these are the people that we take directives from. These are the people that make the laws that oppress you and charge you taxes that make it impossible to get ahead in life. And yet we're afraid of them? What is this? What are we afraid of? We're afraid of the possibility that they're going to come and get you. We're afraid of a boogeyman. That's it. Think about how much traffic you sit in. Going to work, going wherever you go in the morning in your city. Think about how much traffic there is. Each one of those cars has at least one person in it. And that's just one city on one road on one city, okay? How many people do you see that aren't just everyday people, Most of those people are not enforcers. Most of those people are not cops. Most of those people are not government employees. And because of that, most people can stop taking their commandments, and there's really going to be no fallout, right? What can they do? What can they do when 80% of people just stop playing along? They can't do anything. They couldn't even do anything if 15% of people stopped playing along. God, the government isn't God. They are not infallible, and they are not all-powerful. They're weak, scared, cowardly, unintelligent, violent people, but they're not all-powerful, and all they exist upon is the falsehood of the fear they instill into you. The falsehood, or the idea that they're going to take your property and your liberty if you don't play along. do, then, I mean, if I do play along, you're still taking my property, right? You're still taking 50% of what I earn. So where's my incentive to play along? Be who you are, guys. There's no sense in living a miserable life just because some strangers tell you to. That's insane. You want to know how insane it's made people? When I first got my farm job, I was excited to come on here and talk about how the gratitude affected things. And I told my parents, I said, you know what? What happened was a gift from God, from whatever higher power exists. And that gift was granted of gratitude. And I want to tell people that. And you know what her response was? Oh, you better not tell people where you work or the cops are going to come and stalk you there and follow you there. Are you really? I don't think you will. You know why? Because I'm more powerful than them. They don't own me. You know, I can prove it. I can prove it. If they owned me, I wouldn't be making this video in the position I am right now, right? I'd probably be making it from back there or sitting there. They don't own me. They've never owned me. They don't own you. Stop letting yourself be owned. Now, that being said, do what you need to do to get by. If it's easier... No, I can't even say that. I can't say if it's easier. No, don't take the easy way out. The easy way out is laid out in front of you like a trap. But the hard way, the quote-unquote hard way, it's not that hard. It doesn't take anything extra other than courage. You got a Mango Mussolini in office who's now tearing down sovereign nations, regardless of how you feel about the leader of that nation. You know, that we don't live there. All we hear is news, right? All we hear is filtered through the people that have an agenda to take down that sovereign nation. So I don't believe it. And my stance is I live in a sovereign nation with a dictatorial leader, quote unquote, so-called leader. Not a leader, a ruler, a king, a tyrant. I do. But would it be better if another country came along and took our resources and dismantled that ruler? I doubt it, because then we'd have another one just like that in his place who is from another society. It's not going to help us. So how is it going to help Venezuela? How is it going to help Venezuelans if we go and extract their wealth? If we go and commandeer millions of barrels of oil? How pathetic is that? And there's something else. Pattern recognition. I mentioned it earlier. Think about this. Think about when the dollar has been at its weakest. You got 2003, 2008, now we do every time the dollar is weak? And I'll tell you why we do it. What we do is we go and extract wealth, real wealth, from a sovereign nation. We take over their country. We steal their wealth. And why? Why do we do this? Well, it boils down to the fact that the money we use is based in debt. Okay? And remember that old song? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. That's what it is. You can't build wealth out of nothing. It's impossible. All you can do is put off the collection of wealth and artificially inflate the wealth, the value. And so, what do? We go and steal wealth from other nations. And for a while, that boosts us above where we were, until that debt does what debt does. It's never been intended to win. It's always been an empire. It's always been propped up by the deaths of young men and women and children. Always. It is impossible not to. Well, that's my soapbox for the day. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful new year. Love y'all. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being here while I've been absent.